felt the cold in your fingertips. I tasted poison.
Great. So episode number, oh, geez, episode. I don't even know what episode we are anymore. I know we're season 4. And I do know we're going to have a great conversation with Drew Danburry from Icarus Phoenix. Drew, where are you coming in from today?
I live in Baltimore, Maryland.
Hey, good old Baltimore. Have you lived there most of your life? Was that where you grew up?
No, actually, I grew up in California and then spent a lot of time in Missoula, Montana, and Utah. And then a few years ago, split up with my partner and moved across the country to survive.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk about survival, but why don't we rewind a little bit? And when did music become really important to you? In the sense that it had to be a part of something that you were going to do in your life?
Probably early to mid 20s.
Hmm.
Yep.
And like, what was it? Do you remember an event or an occasion or a track you listened to or a band where it was just like, I got to do that. Like, I'm in on this.
I think I was at my brother's house, um, with nothing to do, and they had a guitar and I had a poem, and I picked up the guitar, and next to it was like a song book with like 3 chords. So I wrote a song, and I thought, oh, this is fun. I showed my friend who played guitar and made music, and I said, hey, help me record the song. He did. It was super fun. I was like, oh, let's start a band. Let's write and record songs. This is super fun. And then of course, I think step by step, it kind of just became a way to channel and self-reflect the things that you step through and walk through.
Right. Right. And
So that was the beginning.
right. Right. And do you remember what that first song theme was about? That first poem that you wrote and put to music? What theme it dabbled in?
I mean, yes and no.
Mm.
It was very much like a Palace Brothers, Palace music, like Bonnie Prince Billy kind of vibe. And the lyrics, it had some really good lyrics and some really dumb lyrics. But it was just, I'm in my early 20s, I'm writing poetry. Um, there's some good stuff in there. I have it
Yeah.
somewhere. It's
Yeah.
it's not great. It's not even good really, but there's
Sure.
there's something there.
Right. Right. And was it that something there that kept motivating you to keep going, or did you know regardless, like, this is something I need to do as who I am and how I deal with the things that are happening in my life? I pen them down, I put them on paper. Like, was that a moment also when you found some of the little bright spots in that first song that you put together?
No, initially it was just fun.
Mm.
Initially it was just I guess I always spent a lot of time being creative with my friends. That's kind of I didn't realize it till later, but that is kind of my love language. And
Mm.
I didn't really put that together till later, but essentially initially it was just fun. And we started a band, and in my head it was like, okay, we're gonna write songs and record them, and we're gonna be creative together. And then half the band was like, no, we're playing shows. We're in a band. We're gonna be cool. We're gonna get chicks. And in my head I was just like, oh, that sounds really stressful. I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, that's what we're doing. So I don't know. Like I kind of guess I guess I just do the shows and do the booking and the organizing and the promoting as a means to kind of be kind to the things that I've created. It's almost like those are not the things that I like. I don't really there's I don't like the booking and organizing, the promoting and all that stuff, but you spent so much time making something you feel is special and you want to give it the kind of love and attention that it deserves.
Well said, man. Well said. And as you were starting to be in a band, like you've done over 800 shows, right, in your career. I read that on what your PR sent me. So,
Yeah.
your blurb. 800 plus shows, and what else? Over 400 songs written that you put out. I mean, I'm sure you're sitting on another 400 that never made it to the, to the tape. But how's your approach to? We'll start with writing songs. Like, what's your process to an idea to? I think this has legs to go on to, a record.
Well, I generally just record little ideas, put them on a little digital recorder, and then I go back to them a few months later. And so a lot of them, a few months later, I'm like, this sucks, and I delete it. And then some of them, I'm like, oh, I kind of hear something here. Let's just keep playing with it. And it's a really long, drawn out process where we went in and we recorded like 40 songs for this 10-song album. But
Right.
before that, there was at least 100 songs, ideas that like got nixed. Currently, I don't even know how many songs I'm sitting on. I'm sitting on like 50 or 60 right now that I've just kind of been gathering like ideas, or like here's a verse, chorus, or here's an outro that we can attach somewhere. And then you kind of like a lot of those ideas, they develop over time. Like there's a song that we wrote as a band called Colorblind Mormons, and then I thought, oh, how cool would it be if we started the song not the way we've been starting it, but we start with like a bunch of noise. And then I thought this should be the opening to the album because we just start with like chaos and noise. And then I thought, oh, but before we start that, we should have a little phrase, and then the chaos and noise makes sense because I just wrote an album about a breakup. And what if I had some sort of idea where like this person wants you back, or this person's asking to get back together, and then you have all this chaos and noise for like 20 seconds before you go into the first track. So you have all this stuff that kind of evolves, and initially they just start as an idea, but then over time it's like, oh, but this makes sense. And a lot of times you're just letting your subconscious do its work, and then later you reap the benefits of not getting in the way, I guess.
Right, right. I love it. It sounds like a tapestry almost, where there are all of these colors and pieces that are out there that you have access to, and it's like finding the pieces that have a line that connects them all together and creates this beautiful quilt.
Right. I mean, life is a lot of different experiences. It's a lot of different things, and it's a lot of different feelings. I had an experience with like an older gentleman who, I don't know if you've encountered this, but I encounter a lot of older people who are like aggressively polite, aggressively forward, and then because they're older, they just want to monologue you with, they just like waterboard you with their words. And so I was trying to come up with a way to write a song about that kind of experience and like kind of process that. And then also kind of like white fragility, and how, like, how could I write a song that kind of delves into, you know, redefining the word white itself, or like something to just kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
And Drew, what is it like? You kind of mentioned like there's something that sparks in it. Like when it's like it catches your attention after whatever, you're pulling something out that you put down on your notes or whatever. Like, can you describe that? Like, what is the thing that, or what are the things that pull you back into it and say like, yeah, I like this? I mean, I imagine it's a plethora of different things that can do that or spark that.
Sure. I think the best way to describe it is simply I've forgotten I've forgotten the original idea, so that
Mm.
when I come back to it and I listen on my little recorder, it's kind of like it's fresh. I've never heard this before. And just like when I'm hearing a new song on the radio or just anywhere, something about it hooks you, something about it like gets in under your skin. And not that everything I write gets under my skin, but there's like a level where it's like, oh, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
There's always room for songs, at least for me. A lot of my favorite bands, like they'll have one song that just immediately hooks you, and then the rest of the album's kind of like, okay. And then the more you listen to it, the more other songs grow on you. So you had that one initial hook of a song, but then the rest of the album just exponentially grows and you get so much more life out of that album versus another album where it's like all the songs are so good and it's almost like this voracious candy fest. Um,
That's super
and I
well
think I
described. That's how I felt about this latest record of yours.
okay,
Exactly that. The first track pulls you in, and you got a line on there that's so simple, but it's like, all these little massages in the brain that it clicks off. Um, and I think that first song has like that quintessential like bombastic, but not like crazy, but then
yeah,
these beautiful little pop, um, indie pop intentions with it, like that in the line that you play in that. And it, I would listen to it. I was telling you this before we hopped on, where it became kind of infectious of just listening to it. And the rest of the record, I was kind of like forgetting about a bit, because I just I was like fixated. And then the rest of the record, I started listening to more, and it just started to blossom. And like the head of the track list, I mean, there was a whole beautiful body underneath there that
well,
started
good.
to emerge. It's interesting. Like when you said that, I was like, I mean, that's what you do with your music.
I hope. I mean, I definitely. It's hard when you make your own music. It's almost like you can't enjoy it because you spend so much time just like you're just pouring over it so much, and then you finally finish it, and then you're like, okay, good God, I can get away from these songs for a little while. And then the producer or whoever is going to send you the songs will be like, hey, what do you think of this mix? You're like, God, do I have to listen to this again? And it's like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it can be really really disconcerting or like disheartening,
Mm.
and it can be really easy to feel like you're not doing anything worthwhile when you hit that wall. But I have had those experiences where you go back to an album years and years later and you realize, no, I like this is exactly what I would want to hear in the world if I hadn't already heard this like a million times.
Right. Right.
You're making the thing that you would fall in love with if it weren't for the
Right.
fact that you were having to make it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's probably one of the trickier parts, of putting a record out, is that the before of like just the repetition and the different tweak there and tweak there and tweak here, and we'll add that there, take that out. Like it's just this onslaught, and you're just like full of it, like you're just like overeating almost a meal. You're just like, I can't fit any more in. Um,
Right.
and you've had a bit of distance now from I should have known the things you never said. I mean, it came out August 15th. Has there been enough space yet between the release and all of the the intensity of building a record to now kind of looking back on it? Has your perspective changed at all, towards that record now?
Honestly, probably the very opposite.
Mm,
It'll probably take a couple years to
mm,
be able to revisit it.
Yeah.
But we just got done with like a tour a couple weeks ago, and between playing the songs every night and then just like press releases and just promoting, I think I put the record on at work before anyone got there one day, and I was like, I can't listen to this. It's definitely
Still
is.
too
Yeah,
still too
it's
raw,
too,
you think? Like, is it the themes? And because I know it talks a lot about your breakup and, you know, everything that kind of falls out of that, when that decision is made. And I understand from what I read too that you have to move across the country and separate from family and loved ones and, um, difficult times. Um, is it that is still too raw for you, or is it that plus just hearing the song so many times, that you still need that distance from
it's just hearing the songs too many
it?
times.
Yeah.
Um, Emotionally, I'm not too raw. Like I'm in a good spot. I just asked my son the other day, like, hey, isn't it weird? Like this is our life. Like is like have you gotten into the flow? Like are you okay? Like how are you doing? And he did not. He got real quiet really fast, and so maybe I might have verbally stubbed my toe in that regard. But it was a moment of like, man, it's been 3 years. Like I fly out and see you like every month as much as I can all the time, and it's weird that it's just so weird because it's now feels normal and not like it doesn't it doesn't feel like just ripping my heart out of my chest every month. It feels like okay, this is our life. This is what this is, and that's the weird thing to me.
Yeah. Hard times, hard times and experiences, but I think a lot, um, can grow out of that. Um,
Sure.
Hard times are particularly reflective moments for us as humans. Um, and I always remember the hardest things I've ever gone through have been some of the greatest lessons. But it's never like, okay, this is, it always kind of tugs a bit. And, I don't think you ever get used to it, in the sense of it being normal, but we survive, right? We find ways and push forward. And I think that what you do with your music is a little bit of that catalyst as well of kind of coming to terms with the way life is. It, you know,
Yeah.
2022, October 2024, I should say.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely that, and it's very much addressing like the big, the small, the all the stuff. It's really cathartic, and I
Yeah,
really appreciate it. I'm really grateful I have it as it's almost like a self therapy. Say
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Well, it seems like too that this has been something that has been a part of your life from your 20s, right? Like where this need to kind of, um, put things out, get things out, instead of like pushing it down and down inside and not realizing that once you do finally start letting some of it out and maybe not letting it go, but giving it a bit more space to be, that it allows you to move a little bit
100%.
forward as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the process.
Cool. And let's like rewinding it back to your music a little bit. Do you find that your music, I mean, it kind of seems like a silly question to ask now. Like, I mean, obviously your music has been influenced by your experiences. Have you noticed your process to approaching music shift over time? And maybe not, just recent time, but like since you started recording and putting music out there, has things evolved in how you come about from, like creating the actual music that you put out in the world?
Yeah, I mean, initially, like I said, I started with a poem and added chords and a melody to the poem, and I think soon thereafter, I kind of I think even by the first time our band recorded an album, like by the time we even started recording actual songs, it reversed into like, okay, here's my melody, here's the idea, here's how it feels, what words can I put into this melody? And I think initially, when you're first writing songs, you're just writing songs. You're not like, to actually write a song is such a big deal. And so I think over time, I started writing enough songs where it's like, oh, I wrote like 30. I didn't write just 12 songs this time. I wrote 20s. And what am I going to do with these 8? And so you just kind of hold on to them, and then they just aggregate. And a lot of times, they just never get released. And a lot of times you go back to it like 10 years later and you're like, this isn't bad. If I just tweaked this here and here and here, we'd have like a really good song. It was really close. It just was never quite there.
Right.
So
Fun.
yeah, that's
Awesome.
the best I got.
So then, just to kind of bring things to a close again, thanks for joining me. I mean, it's been really fun talking with you and reflecting.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no, it's been great. So what's on tap for the rest of your year with Icarus Phoenix? You mentioned you just came off a tour. Is there anything more that you can add to the bones about your music and what we can look forward to in the future?
Well, we did record 40 songs, so I am planning on releasing a single every few weeks for the next year. But in terms of like shows and other stuff, there's we're in heavy recovery. Mentally, I'm ready to write a lot of songs, and I'm putting things together so we can go in and record a new album. And then our guitarist has had some heavy problems with her wrist. And so she's kind of down for the count for like 6 months. So we're trying to kind of just navigate and see what we're going to do. If she's going to sing and not play guitar, and if we bring in another guitarist, and just kind of like what that all looks like. But mostly we're just recovering. I'm trying to save money instead of spend it. And tour is fun, but I always lose money. Yeah.
Cool. And if people want to come visit you, where can they come? You have a business, correct? And that people could come in.
I used to have my own barbershop. Now I work at a spot in Baltimore. It's Old Bank Barbers, if people ever need a haircut.
Awesome. A cut and a chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if I'm ever in Baltimore, I'm coming to get my haircut.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, great record. I'm happy that there's all these other tracks that came out of this session, because this session seemed to really, you guys were sparking. Like, it seemed to, like, 40 songs in 3 days, they're going to have a thread that runs. So I'm really looking forward to, I'm going to continue enjoying this, but now I can over-listen to it because I know there's more that are stashed away. So yeah, amazing. Well, I wish you all the best, and good luck in the future with the music. And if you ever want to hop back on here and continue this conversation, I'm totally into it.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Question, I've had an answer. It was unexpected. It always is. Should I have known things you never told me? Should I have known things you never said? Yeah, I'm not hurt. don't want me. What shakes me up is how you lie, and you'll deny it long as you're breathing. Yeah, you'll deny, justify. Asked a question, life had an answer. Your good intentions, they won't suffice. I asked for more, but you had nothing. I asked for more, things just died. They just died. Walked away from something fair. Walked away from my home.
それがどうにもうまくねえんだなこれが。でもあんた高いとこ飛ぶ選手だかんよ。うんと高いとこ飛ぶ選手だかんね。おいらも背中に乗っけてもらって飛ぶ。